Hi there, this is John Frenay, and welcome to an Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight. These are best done in person, and with the current state of emergency restrictions, that's just not possible. So we will be re-releasing our past episodes every Saturday at noon until this pandemic is in our collective rearview mirror. Until then, enjoy this Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight.
Some businesses succeed. Some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories. Those business owners that have been around for decades. Learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Frenay.
We're in the cutest little shack on 92 Maryland Avenue. It's right at the corner of State Circle and Maryland Avenue with Elvia Thompson and Lynne Forsman, who are the founders of Annapolis Green.
That's us, yes.
Live in the flesh in this great little place right here that hopefully everybody has been into and checked out, and all the great stuff that Annapolis Green is doing. Annapolis Green is, for those that aren't aware, is the environmental organization in the city of Annapolis, and
we're a different kind of environmental organization. So we're not out there boots on the ground fixing streams, fixing runoff. We're not focused on oysters, but we kind of cover the waterfront, no pun intended, with lots of different types of programs to bring attention to the different ways that people can get involved in protecting the environment.
Well, it's the whole carbon footprint, if you will. It's reducing the carbon footprint. And certainly we can do some restoration of the bay, we can do some preservation of the bay, but there's a lot of little things that we can do that make a huge impact, and that's where you guys really shine.
And John, one thing just to chime in, when we first started, it really was uniting and bringing some clarification to the environmental organizations here. A lot of people were confused of all the different acronyms, which one really does what, and we were trying to bring everybody together for a platform so folks could better get a grasp of what was going on here locally, where maybe they might want to align with what organization. So we started with our Green Drinks Annapolis, and that was a networking event bringing people together, and almost at the same time an online website that really provided a lot of that information that kind of put us on our path to find out where our true niche was.
And now Green Drinks, that's not your thing. That's a national thing, right? International?
International, yeah. They're about somewhere between 600 and 800.
About 600, and maybe 30 years ago was formed over at the Slug and Lettuce Pub over in the UK. And it was simply a way for folks that were at that point employed in the environmental industry to come together and just have a conversation over a cocktail.
Yeah, so you could actually plan a vacation around green drinks around the world. So let's say you start in Buenos Aires and you
This sounds like a fundraiser for Annapolis Green to me.
Oh, what a great idea. So what we did is we made it our own. And actually, they're all different. Some people are thrilled that they get 24 people together on the fourth Friday at the same bar all year long. That's not us. We move it around. We move it around trying to showcase places that are at least taking some steps toward sustainability and to get people to what would be new places for them. No matter where we go, the most popular restaurant, the most popular venue that isn't a restaurant, there are always people who've never been there before, even though they live here, which is amazing. But there you go.
And we started with, maybe 20 to 30 people going around the room, kind of, who they are, what brought them here today. And then we outgrew that pretty quickly. And now we like to pick a topic that we do each month and then bring in some exhibitors, bring in people to talk to it. So we have a very short program, but really the gist of it is networking.
Well, I've been to a couple of them, and they're always well attended. I'm guessing, what do you have, 75 to 100 is probably maybe even more?
100 is probably the average. Sometimes it's more.
Okay.
Depending on when, where, and what it's competing with. What other
and our topic.
Event. Yeah, right. And the topic. Yeah.
I know you've had it at the former Lowe's. I know you've had it at the new home of the Chesapeake Bay Trust in Eastport, which is a beautiful building.
That was a good one.
They've got there. I know
Homestead is a big repeat for us. I think that's probably the longest standing each year back to Homestead, which we will be again in March. And we probably get close to 2 to 250 at that one.
Yeah, and mainly it's because people just, at the end of winter, people want to see flowers.
Sure.
But we've also had it at unusual places like the Summer Garden Theater. Again, that was one of those spots where a lot of people put their hands up when we said, who's never been here before? And in fact, one person said, I walk by here all the time. I always wondered what that was. It's really? So that just kind of reinforces also that although we are an environmental organization, we also see ourselves as a community hub. Because our belief is that if the community is not vibrant economically, socially, and environmentally, then it's not a strong community. Legitimate. So if the businesses aren't doing well, the environmental work isn't going to get done, to some extent.
That's legitimate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the beauty of Green Drinks is since it's so loosely structured and kind of relates to anybody. We get government attendees, we get business folks, we get homes and housewives and husbands and kids, sometimes older kids, just coming to find out a little bit more of what's going on in the community in general. So in different types of businesses, some Green Drinks, maybe it would be slanted towards architecture or, a different, similar group of people, but ours is pretty diverse, and I think that's what keeps it.
Well, I think everybody there's something everybody can do to help out in such a small
Absolutely.
way. Now, how did this start? This is nearly 15 years ago. Did this start over like drinks, perhaps?
Actually, no.
Written on a napkin? No.
Senator Asheville told me he got into politics over drinks in a bar one time.
Everything good that happens starts on a cocktail napkin.
Believe
Absolutely.
it or not, Green Drinks didn't start over a drink.
Yeah.
Elvia and I were both doing something similar at the same time until we came together.
And we actually don't remember how we met.
Yeah, okay. I think I saw her kayaking or something. But I was towards the end of my yacht charter company called Nautical Destinations and getting an increasing concern for the Bay. Couldn't be helped. I actually started a Go Green Charter Responsibly attempt to truly deaf ears, but worked with the crews on the boat to, make sure they were using the right cleaning methods and et cetera, the caterers. And then I had a give back donation to Chesapeake Bay Foundation at the time. But it was really to deaf ears, and I was sort of, how can I start to get more awareness around here? And through my background's hospitality and through those circles, heard about Green Drinks International. So I gave it a whirl and started that up.
But there's more than that. So you heard about Green Drinks, and you said, okay, drinks, sailing, Annapolis, how does that fit? Oh, yeah, that fits.
That drinking town. So I figured it was a no-brainer to try it. So actually is it going to be 15? It was 2006, and I kind of made it as a birthday present to myself, and it was the end of February, and because I wanted to start something new. So there was maybe 20 of us over at what was then Rockfish. Yeah. Then there's Elvia, the Elvia side.
So Lynne was doing Green Drinks, and I was involved with the Spa Creek Conservancy. And at that time, we were doing the wade-ins. I don't know if you remember that, John, where we would go into this is what State Senator Bernie Fowler started down in South County, or I guess Calvert County, where you would walk into the water wearing white sneakers and measure the depth of the water at which you could no longer see your shoes. And that was like the layman's version of measuring water quality. And he still does it. He's in his 90s now, I think. So we were doing that with DNR in the Four Creeks in Annapolis. And so people would take the measurement in the representative creek, and then they'd go to the Maritime Museum beach and do Back Creek from that beach, the measurement. And so all the environmentalists were there together, and DNR was, marking the water charts, quality and all that. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we had a picnic or something so that the environmental groups could get to know one another, because obviously people just didn't know one another. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could get a picnic together and everybody meet and get to know one another? Maybe we could work together. Nobody was interested in talking to anybody else. And I thought, well, this is crazy. So since I already knew how to do this, I put a website together with really minimum information. And the information was something like, well, so what's the difference between the Chesapeake Bay Foundation and the Chesapeake Bay Trust and the Chesapeake Bay Commission? That kind of thing. Sure. It was confusing everybody. And then all of these...
And it still does.
Yeah. And then all of these organizations had events, so then the event calendar started. And anyway, it just got some traction. And then putting it together with Green Drinks that Lynne had started, it really grew. So it was online and in-person connections. And so that's how we started.
Yeah, and it was off our dining room tables, kind of doing things sort of part-time. We really just ramped it up.
So it really was kind of equal parts of, I guess, environmental and social type. I mean, it really merged the two.
Well, I think that we both started from the point of view that you get things done when people know one another, when you've met face to face, and that has been absolutely proven all through this whole 14-year odyssey that people who meet at Green Drinks or our other events, they already have that face in their head. They've got the business card maybe that was exchanged, and they're more apt to pick up the phone for whatever reason, to talk about legislation, to inquire about a job, to just get somebody's advice.
Yeah, no, connections are critical in any way you look.
Right, and screen time isn't enough. You've actually got to shake hands with somebody and.
I think that's been the success through the years. And we always say, many magical things happen at Green Drinks.
And they do. They do. People get jobs. Theoretically, they get boyfriends and girlfriends.
We've heard many.
We've heard
many
that. Yeah.
stories.
You've got a couple love stories out of there?
Well, we've heard a few things, yeah.
That stays under wraps.
Yeah. Definitely jobs, though. Yeah.
Very cool. Now, where have you grown? How have you grown? I mean, how do we get to 92 Maryland Avenue in a wonderful own building and a great location? I mean, you're kind of the Zachary's Jewelers of the upper end of Main Street. I mean, you're right on the corner of two prime streets.
Well, it's kind of nice when you can just go out on the side porch and say, "Hey, Governor, how you doing?"
But with everybody loving the person-to-person feel, and with the type of town Annapolis is, we figured somewhat like a little green community center would work here. And so that was the initial idea of this fabulous location. I mean, if I could dream up my favorite spot in Annapolis where I could exist, it was here. And the stars aligned, and here it is. And we're making use of it the best we can, and we feel that we can do so much more.
Well, the first part of your existence was primarily, I don't want to say virtual, because, I mean, you guys are working from home and whatnot there. And this physical location is only 3 years old, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the building is probably
1900.
150 years old. But
it's 119.
What goes on in here?
Other than it being well, first of all, we call it the Annapolis Greenhouse. Because it's our house. But that sometimes confuses people. We have actually had people come in wanting to buy garden shears.
Okay,
it's all right.
You should sell them.
Brings them in. We sell them something. Yeah. Information.
It gives us a place to gather small groups together. We have had several events here, of maybe 20 or 30 people, which is nice. Everything from a baby shower,
legislative, corporate meetings,
yeah. And it gives us a focal point. It gives us a presence in town on Annapolis's most historic street, which is Maryland Avenue.
I was going to say, I mean, I know with Midnight Madnesses and the different things that the business communities do. Certainly, we're speaking right now. We're on opening day of the legislature, so I mean, you're going to see an uptick of business and the movers and shakers, the people that think they're movers and shakers, walking around town, and you couldn't have asked for a better location.
Right. And so we want to take advantage of the fact that we have this location, and what can we showcase?
Mm-hmm. Well, and luckily the building also comes with a fabulous garden. The first year we were here, we took out the non-native shrubs and everything, again with tremendous help from Homestead Gardens. And so we built a pollinator-friendly garden, and I call it the bee buffet. I mean, they love it. There are hundreds of bees out there in the warm months. And then the following year, we redid the other half of the garden.
We kind of acquired that from our upstairs neighbor.
Yeah. We planted native plants, ornamental plants. And then we ran into an author who did an entire book on why not...
Re-author.
yeah. Why not plant some vegetables in there with the flowers? So we did for the past couple of years.
That we call foodscaping.
Yeah. And that's the name of her book, too. And it's just been great. And the secret sauce with our garden, both sides of the garden, the pollinator-friendly
I know the answer to this.
Mm-hmm. is compost. Is compost, yes.
Christmas crab compost.
That's right. And it really is. It's just amazing how the vegetables, tomatoes, squash. This last year we did green beans. I mean, you name it.
I think we started with 12 plants, and Chesapeake Harvest from the Eastern Shore donated those. And we were urban gardeners all through the year. We have friends come and harvest with us, and
And we will again, yeah.
It seems so funny on this little poster-sized slide talking about harvesting.
Well, yeah, but the example
can be
is
done.
that everybody ought to grow some of their own food, even if it's just one tomato plant, because it makes that connection with the earth. It's absolutely wonderful to be cooking in your house and go out and pick some herbs or go out and pick a tomato and put it in whatever you're making.
Without it.
And so we're the example here of that. And then we extended it. There's been a lot of problem with the State House grounds and the circle that elm trees got the disease and had to be taken down.
We used to be a completely shaded garden area, and so we lost 3 massive trees, and now this is the sunshine that allows us to grow what we do. So
So anyway, the city or somebody, I think it was the city, took out this big elm tree on the sidewalk and put in a sycamore, but a little tiny sycamore, 4 inches across or something.
Sure.
But that's all they did. And so the tree well, the space around the tree was mud, and people were throwing cigarettes and litter and everything in it. So anyway, we called the city and said, look, what if we adopt this tree? We'll take care of the tree well and plant some natives around it as an example of what businesses who have a tree in front of their door could do to beautify the city and, again, provide, some food for the pollinators. So for the past 2 years, we've taken care of that spot. And as soon as we did that and put compost in and planted some black-eyed Susans and some other flowers, guess what? People stopped throwing their crud in there, because it looked like somebody cared about it.
It's a life story there, If you give just a little bit of care to anything, whether it be people or trees or whatnot,
and
you get a lot more respect.
There are some trees on Main Street and West Street that are taken care of, that have pretty flowers around them and all that, and you could tell that the people who work there probably pay somebody to do that. But there are others that are just pathetic, that really need help, and it's not that big a deal to take care of, a tree that's giving us oxygen and shade. And
so we know when we make something beautiful that it really decreases in the, neglect, the trash, the litter.
Yeah.
But that's another showcase that we have here. Our dual bins that are right out front.
That's right.
Trying to showcase what Victor Stanley, which is a manufacturer here, a fabulous local company, also on our board. They are the containers that are approved by Annapolis to be used for trash and recycling.
But there's no recycling on Maryland Avenue or State Circle at all, except for our bins out here that were donated by Victor Stanley. So for 2 years, we took care of the trash.
And why is that? Just because it's a commercial?
Yeah, so commercial businesses have to pay for their waste removal.
And they don't have a recycling program for businesses?
Well, there is
or a mandated one, I guess.
Actually, a business can sign on with the city for pickup if the business is already on a residential route.
But in a commercial district, we'll say, Maryland Avenue, Main Street, West Street, you pay for your own trash removal.
Yes, but we have trash containers here on Maryland Avenue and on State Circle, but it's only trash. It's not recycling.
Not paired with recycling, as there are a few on Main Street and definitely down at the dock.
So anyway, for 2 years, the trash workers here were Lynne and me. So we would take care of the waste. We'd take it home, essentially. Then finally, about 4 or 5 months ago?
Yes, it was a big moment.
Yeah, the public works director sent us an email, and said, okay, I relent. We'll pick it up, which is wonderful. Because let me tell you, I know we have done dumpster diving like you wouldn't believe. And after, what's it been, 25, 30 years of recycling in this country, people still don't understand that a slice of pizza is not recyclable. Really. It's.
I will say that I think that in terms of recycling, when I was growing up and it was just starting to become in vogue, if you will, it was the biggest pain in the ass you could possibly imagine. I mean, you were looking at the little tabs on the Coke cans to see whether they had the triangles and this and the green glass and the brown glass and the clear glass and everything else. And it was no wonder that everybody was just no. But now recycling is just so much easier. The cities and the county makes it, you just put it all in one container. And
we convenienced ourselves into oblivion.
Yeah, sadly.
Because putting it all together, it's more convenient, but then
market change.
it makes people lazy as to what they and there's a lot of what's called wish cycling. Like, oh well, maybe this is recyclable. I'll put it in there because that's what government said. If in doubt, put it in. Well, that's not the case anymore. Now there is very little commercial market for the stuff that could be recycled, for one. And secondly, even to this day, nationally, only something like 9% of what could be recycled actually is recycled.
Yeah. Recycling has become a very big challenge.
Yeah. Wow. So it used to be all about quantity when you could send it to Asia to be processed. Now it's about quality because Asia doesn't want any of our stuff anymore. So now it's paper, aluminum, and high-quality plastic. Everything else is worthless. Right. So that's why we have a campaign, and a lot of other jurisdictions do too, to cut single-use plastic. Things that you use for 5 seconds, like, let's say, coffee stirrers that are not recyclable because of their size to begin with. But secondly, why would you make something that you're going to use for 10 seconds out of a product that will be with us forever?
True.
Right.
Yeah.
Why not use one that will be with you forever and just rinse it off in the sink?
Exactly.
I mean, it makes
as
sense.
in a spoon. Imagine that. Yeah.
Well, I know Chesapeake Bay Trust is shifting to all non-single-use plastics, and they're they said it's a challenge. Sometimes you sit there and you think about it. It's like, oh, I can do this better. And it's just a mindset.
Yeah, exactly, a mindset. Why would you reach for a paper towel when you could use a cloth for a lot of things? I mean, if you're scooping out grease from a fry pan, okay, fine. But if you're just drying your hands at home, for crying out loud, right. Why would you make more trash?
That's what they make blue jeans for.
There you go.
Just right down on the...
But the whole plastic-free started with 2 years ago, Elvia, when we did the whole "don't suck, sip responsibly." So,
well, okay,
essence,
we're getting ahead.
I mean, straw.
There's three great things that you guys have really been behind, and we're going to talk about them. Okay, we're going to talk about the styrofoam ban in the city as well as the county and what's now coming through the state. And you guys weren't totally responsible for the state, but certainly had a big voice within the state and the county and the city.
We did testify on a state level.
Oh yeah,
too. Yeah.
You do and you've mentioned it 3 times about the compost, and this is your crab compost that you guys. It's like patented and secret recipe, special sauce, whatever you want to call it. But this is all the crap that comes out of the Rotary's Crab Feast every year, because that is a 100% recycled event because of you two. And you take these rotten crab carcasses and make them into beautiful things that can go into the ground and make your plants flourish.
Well, we get it to the guy who does that.
Okay, well,
we'll give credit.
Take the credit, Mike. Yeah. And then the other thing, which is the straws and the single-use the plastic straws. I mean, the plastic straws that came, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but it was. I mean, they're
the turtle.
they're non-recyclable,
right? Because of the size.
They're there. They're an environmental hazard when they get into the bay,
and they never break down.
The animals.
So that's the thing about plastic. Plastic doesn't break down; it breaks up into tiny little pieces, microplastic, which is in our bodies right now, John. I can't remember the number, but we eat like the equivalent of a credit card size of plastic every week or so.
And these are, just to make it real simple, like little tiny little
microscopic
balls of plastic that we don't know.
Yeah.
But a credit card size, a credit card worth of plastic is ingested. Where do we ingest that from?
Food.
Okay.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's a lot of. It's suspended in the air. I mean, it's in a lot of places, but it's definitely in food. So if you eat any kind of seafood, any kind of crustacean, you name it, there is plastic that is microscopic in all of that, and we eat that.
And this is from them eating it, from the animals eating it, and
because a lot of the plastic
everywhere.
The plastic ends up in our waterways and then ends up in the ocean and continues to fall apart because of the sun and other conditions. But the point is, it falls apart, but it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away.
So that's why we're pushing so hard and have been for reduction of single-use plastic, like straws, like cutlery, lots of things.
Plastic plates and different things like that.
Yeah. So you were talking about mindset. Okay. So here's the typical mindset. You're going to have some people over for dinner. Let's say a barbecue. And what do? You go buy plastic plates and you go buy
plastic spoons.
Right. When you've got
a
darn dishwasher right there in your own house, why don't you just use the stuff that can be reused again? And it's not that people are bad or evil. It's just that they don't think.
It's what you've always done.
Right.
And it's how you've been programmed.
been programmed by the great American marketing machine. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, well, that makes sense.
So people said, okay, well, why are you focusing on straws? Give me a break. What difference does a straw make? Said 500 million people every day.
Well, you sit there and you look, and I'll come from a capitalist point of view there. When you sit there and I remember when this initiative first sort of took roots, people were saying, well, this is going to cost us X dollars to switch to something else. Not that they were resisting it, but that gives you an idea of what it is. Remember when they were looking at this, the styrofoam ban, and you're going to correct me, I know, because styrofoam is not the proper word, but it's whatever.
That's okay. Let's keep it related.
We'll call it the styrofoam ban.
Expanded polystyrene.
Right, that.
Sure.
And I remember Alex Sachnowich from the county school board said to switch from that to the thing that was going to cost them something crazy like $1.2 million a year. And you just don't think about that. And it's really... on the individual level.
Okay, I'm going to flip that coin. What example does it set for those kids when every single day at lunchtime
they're throwing away? You're right.
They're throwing away all this stuff.
No, you're absolutely right.
Being subjected to it,
Yeah.
But and again, it's a mindset thing. And I am so impressed with the way that this business community embraced that. They were like, I remember Brian at 49 West was like, I'm in.
One of the first.
Anthony and Michael across the street here at Galway Bay.
The first.
Yep,
Yeah.
We're in.
Preserve.
They set the example.
Yep. There's
Preserve
so
not only switched over, they said,
gave us
okay,
the
we
straws.
got all these straws. What do we do with them? So we took them and we got them properly recycled through a company called TerraCycle.
I think, and the thing is for restaurants and food service places that are hesitant about that, my thing is that even if you aren't going to go to a paper straw for whatever reason, why do you have to give that straw out?
Exactly.
Why don't you just ask? It's much simpler, okay? Because I know that, and this might just be my ADHD, but the only time I will drink through a straw is honestly at McDonald's, because their straws tend to be a little bit thicker and their sodas and stuff. And I don't go to McDonald's that often, but typically not. I'll take a straw, whether it be a paper straw or whatever, and it just sits on the side of my drink, and I drink out of the glass.
Yeah, but the thing to do is once in the restaurant business, once something gets to your table, it has to be thrown away.
It's done.
So
Even if it's individually wrapped?
No, if it's wrapped, they can take it back.
Okay.
But you'd have to make the request at the beginning. When you first order it, don't bring me a straw.
And again, that's just a mindset on servers.
That's right.
Okay, it's
That's
like
right.
any retail thing. It's like, how did you hear about us?
Well, what we're happy seeing now is that a lot of cashiers are now saying, "Do you want a bag?"
Yeah, and the campaign is always about not only the individual, you, the person, the patron, but it's also then the staff at the restaurant, at the establishment. So it's a two-prong to make it work.
Yeah, and that's what we offered the restaurants is training for the back of the house staff. Absolutely.
Well, I see that's also the next thing is the plastic bag ban, or not the ban, but the maybe it's a charge. I know DC charges for bags.
So the legislation that's up for debate during this session will not allow retail establishments to dispense plastic bags. And then there will be a charge for paper bags, but the charge stays with the business. So it's not a tax. It doesn't go to the government.
Okay.
It stays with the business. But think about it this way. When you go and you buy something and you're given a plastic bag, you've actually paid for that bag.
Sure.
As part of the cost of whatever the product is.
Sure.
It's just
shift.
shifting that.
Well, again, I think that, and my daughter went to school in D.C., and I mean, that was a bit, now this is obviously the poor college kid, but I mean, it was like, oh, no, I'm bringing my own because there's no way I'm going to pay $0.25 for that bag.
I always carry a little bag with me. Yeah.
And even myself, I mean, I typically would go to the Giant and I would turn around and get the plastic bags or the paper bags that were there. And now lately, I say lately, and it's been probably about 3 years, I went and I bought the $3 canvas bag that they have, and they stay in my car. I just, they're in the trunk of the car, and Giant and a lot of the supermarkets have made it very easy to, but the whole self-scanning thing, and I find now it's very easy to be able to go in and set my bags up in the cart, walk through, I bloop, 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 put my stuff in, I pack it, I go to the checkout, I scan it, put my card in, and I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And John, it's a two-step program here, because not only do you have the bags and you have them in your car, the next biggie is remember to bring them into the shop. That's
into the store.
Too many of my friends.
Well, we're going to get some new grocery retailers here in this area very soon.
Right, I know Lidl's coming in.
Yeah, and they
Shoppers.
don't give you anything.
Right.
And Sam's Club hasn't given you bags ever.
Right.
And people don't seem to mind. So, it's just another way of thinking.
No. And they will turn around and they'll take, I know Sam's Club will give you boxes. If they've got extra boxes that are laying around and whatnot, again, it's perfect.
But just to kind of close the loop on what we were talking about a minute ago about the straws. So first it was let's go from plastic to paper. And now it looks like we're going from plastic to compostables. In fact, the compostable straws look just like plastic straws.
Mm-hmm. So all plant-based.
Yeah.
Not petroleum-based.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, which is much better for so many reasons. People need to ask in a restaurant, if they're given a straw and it looks like plastic, ask the server, is this plastic or is it compostable?
And hopefully they'll know.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, I've heard this many times, at the Boatyard Bar and Grill in Eastport, people will be outraged. I was given a plastic straw, and I complained to the server, and then the server said, no, that's compostable. Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Crab Feast.
Yeah.
And this, you guys have been very instrumental in a lot of festivals that have come into town, and that has got to be the most egregious way to look at waste, if you will. When you look at a festival, when you get 4 or 5 or 10,000 people in there, all drinking out of plastic cups, single-use plastic cups, just throwing their paper plates and everything else away. You've gone into any number of different festivals, and you've worked with the organizers to be able to bring in recycling bins, trash bins, to be able to get this separated. And the biggest one that you guys are doing is the world's largest crab feast here in Annapolis.
And now the world's largest
zero
waste crab feast. Yeah. So it was actually Lynne who first approached the Annapolis Rotary about that. Do you want to talk about that?
2013. Yeah. And again, I came into this from a hospitality background, so it was just so apparent to me that there could be room to move on all these events and festivals that Annapolis had and how much waste that was being generated. So at that time, recycling was still much more of a profitable way to go. So we started with getting grants for dual bins that offered recycling and trash. Really, it was trying to divert as much as we could in the way of recycling. And that's where we started with the Crab Feast. They were doing it, Rotary was doing cardboard, very minimal recycling. We started with their preferred dining pavilion as year one, just to kind of test the waters. And success, and we could work together. And it really, I have to say, if you have a partnership with an organization that gels, that's willing, that's very engaged, it makes it so fabulous. And that's what the Rotary is to us, Annapolis Rotary.
But it was really interesting at the beginning because there are a lot of older members of Rotary and who'd been doing this Crab Feast forever. This is their 50th year.
Our age? Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, even older than we are. Yeah, even older. And, they just weren't thinking about this. And they said, you want us to do what? You want us to separate what?
Yeah.
But they got it. And they're all in.
And then we went bigger.
Yeah.
And that's when we forged a fabulous relationship with a gentleman, Justin Garrity, with Veteran Compost. He has the only permitted site in the state and is a Iraqi war veteran and bases his business on hiring veterans. And we started his quote-unquote special event arm, really. The Rotary Crab Feast is the largest one that we do. So he comes down with a staff for that event. We work with the Rotary to every single thing that they purchase and use in that event. We assess and make sure that it is compostable, able to be sent to a professional composting facility to be turned into this soil amendment. So it's a procedure, but once you get it done, it's not, you don't even have to think hardly what goes where. You're faced with the alternative is a can, some plastic water bottles. Sadly, we haven't been able to get rid of that yet.
But we're working on it.
But we're working on it. So there are very few things that are only able to be recycled. Everything else goes into our compost tote that we take away for almost 14 and a half tons to get processed.
And that's 2 full dumpsters of crab, as you said, crab carcasses.
Crab carcasses. Carcae, maybe. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Soup bits, watermelon rinds, the trays that the crabs are offered on.
That's
the knives that they pop the crabs open with, those are all compostable, and
Mallets.
the cups. So when the beer distributor comes in, we have to have them put their plastic beer cups away because Rotary provides the cups so that everything's compostable. So the people are done with eating their crabs, and they walk up to the waste station, and we tell them everything goes in there. And they always say, everything? Yes, everything.
Just drop tray and all. And
everything, right.
Yeah, and
except for the soft drinks, which are in cans, which is great. Cans are wonderful because they're recycled 1-to-1. So what we need to work with them now, and we are, is on the water side, so that they don't feel compelled to provide single-use plastic water bottles, what I call throwaway plastic water bottles.
Darn easy solution.
And the thing is that the soft drink distributors provide the water for free. So how does an organization like Rotary, that's trying to make money for really good causes, turn away free water? So that's where the mindset needs to be shifted. Think about, okay, they're free, but what's the downside?
The city has actually adopted in like a lot of their public places. I know the Pitmore Rec Center has the fountains to refill the bottles, which certainly do help.
Yeah, well, that's a nice segue. Thank you.
Yes, which led us to.
Which led us to. We had a campaign last summer called Plastic Free Annapolis, which was paid for through a grant that the city obtained from DNR, which was actually NOAA money. It's the way things work. So we got some money to talk with restaurants and other establishments in town about their use of single-use plastic. And it was really super successful. And I'm pointing at Lynne because she actually was out there, boots on the ground, talking to the restaurants.
Yeah, we did this program along with the city, and it really was first to go and introduce the concept to the restaurants because they had the most of it going on, but then other businesses as well and residents on how they could take steps to be more plastic free in their life. So we actually put together a toolkit in a compostable clamshell, and we had examples, we had quotes, we had resources, we just had a lot of tools in this toolkit that the restaurants could take a look at, engage with, take steps with, and we actually went out on the street and met with probably close to about 40 establishments in the course of a month last August. Yeah, we were jamming. Highly successful, lots of interest. What was best of all is hearing the stories from everybody, just what they have done and their enthusiasm and where they were going and getting more ideas from what they were doing to share with the rest of the group. Sadly, our grant and our tenure of this experience kind of came to a quick close, but it's something that we really want to ramp back up again this year, not only for Annapolis, but to take it out into the county. Well,
it's something that, like you say, even just a little thing that they grab out of the toolbox goes a long way if they can do it. I mean, I don't think you guys expect them, say, to adopt absolutely everything that's in there, and it's not feasible for some people, but little pieces will make a big changes.
We don't want to eliminate all the plastic in the world. That would be crazy. I mean, if I go to the hospital, I want that stuff to be disposable, but it's the single-use, mindless use of this product.
But one of the biggest takeaways from this was just, again, the enthusiasm of the different establishments and folks that were all in and what they had discovered on their own and in mentoring and sharing that information with the other businesses. So we kind of saw that there was a really great opportunity there to really build this momentum and getting the different places to talk amongst one another. And so that's like going to be phase 2 as we move forward.
Yeah, if we get some funding, and we hope that we'll be able to set up a peer-to-peer kind of thing where an organization that does this well, like the Irish Restaurant Company that owns Galway Bay and Killarney
and Pirates Cove,
where they could be essentially the professors, talking to other restaurants. Now we do realize too that some of these decisions are corporate. When you have a chain restaurant, and that's a lot more difficult to push, but. You do the best you can.
You get it the other way. You turn around and then you have people supporting locally owned restaurants, and if all of a sudden people stop supporting the corporate restaurants, they'll listen.
But and there's also the power of the pen. I write letters all the time. I write letters to the CEOs of companies, particularly companies that overpackage everything. You know how everything's in plastic, for crying out loud.
Sure.
So anyway, I write letters, and the letters start with, "Dear so-and-so," and you have to do some research usually to get to who the heck is the CEO at this big company. And the letter says, "I want you to know why I didn't buy your product today." And I go into that, and I almost always get an answer.
That would get the attention of pretty much anybody, I would think.
Yeah. And
here's why I walked by your restaurant and didn't eat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But and we hear from people all the time. I was in this restaurant and they gave me a straw without asking. I said, well, did you complain? Well, no. So how do you think it's going to change if you don't complain?
Absolutely.
Right.
The other big thing that you guys have done is been instrumental is on the polystyrene styrofoam.
Yeah, there you go.
And the city of Annapolis now is styrofoam free.
That's right.
The county is about to become styrofoam free, I believe, in
February.
Mm-hmm.
And the state in July.
And then the state is behind
and
that.
the manufacturer of polystyrene moved away, left Maryland.
Well done.
The thing about styrofoam, and this is styrofoam for food use only. We're not talking about styrofoam for insulation.
Right, that's
and
packed with your computer monitor or something like that.
The styrofoam, it's not just the fact that it breaks up into little pieces and is just devastating because it looks like food to a lot of animals.
Sure.
But also it's the manufacturer of the product. All kinds of toxic chemicals and, it's just bad stuff. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. There are products out there that are made of polystyrene, but not expanded polystyrene. So expanded just means that air got injected into it, which is what gives it its insulative quality, right? But the Solo cup, the red cups that people think are recyclable are not, because they're made out of polystyrene.
The red Solo cups are not plastic?
Who knew?
Well, they're plastic.
I guess plastic is sort of an all-encompassing term.
Not recyclable plastic. Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
There's a takeaway.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, universities, are you listening to this
I
stuff?
know. All those frat parties.
Right. When there are compostable cups available, and even if the compostable cup doesn't make it to a compost facility to be turned into compost, it's still better in the landfill than a petroleum-based plastic product.
That's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a fascinating stuff. What is the best way to get a hold of you? Obviously, we can come over here like 11 to 5, Tuesday through Friday at 92 Maryland Avenue.
Yeah, 11 to 3.
And you can go.
We're actually here more than that, but those are the official hours.
It's a never-ending.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending.
Well, when you
battle.
run a nonprofit, it's pretty much 24/7. I hate to tell you.
And the beautiful thing is we have people wandering in our door all the time.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Saying
Curious.
things like, yeah, what do you do here anyway? Yeah.
Got one of our board members that way.
That's
A
fantastic.
couple, actually.
We did.
Website online. You're at AnnapolisGreen.com, and you guys are a registered 501c3.
That we are.
Or one of those kind of initial things.
Yes.
Which means that you can take money, and the people that give you that money can deduct it.
Yes.
Off of their things. So, do you have the ability to donate right online on your website?
Yes. There's a big orange donate button right at the top.
That's right. And you can slide checks underneath the doormat out front. They check that every morning, I'm sure.
Actually,
They are repairing our front door, and we won't have such a gap soon.
You don't know that. You don't know this, Lynn, but when we were selling the crab compost, I came in one day over the weekend, and there was a $20 bill stuck in the door jamb on the side porch.
Oh, that's great.
Somebody just took a bag and left $20.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And we've got honest environmentalists. That's awesome.
We do.
And you guys have, again, you bring the Green Vehicle Showcase.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Which you do here. You're involved in so many different things.
We are the only ones who are advocating for electric vehicles, and we do this because it's a climate change issue.
And you
So
also walk the walk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I drive a Chevy Bolt. Love it. Yeah, but the more infrastructure that we can get in place, and the city is all in for this, the more people will buy cars, and the more people who buy cars, the more demand there'll be for infrastructure. So it's a circle. But the point is, there are no tailpipe emissions because there are no tailpipes.
Right.
So you're driving literally, like guilt-free. And it's important because we don't have a robust transit system in town. We do have a bus system, but it's being run on gasoline and diesel.
Sure.
Not good. The school buses are diesel, not good. We're working again with the state legislators this year to see if we can strengthen the school bus bill. It was supposed to be a requirement for school buses to be electric, as they are replaced. It turned into kind of like a suggestion, to maybe help local counties, buy a few buses or at least look into it. So we're hoping to strengthen that, working with the state to put in more infrastructure. The state goal is 300,000 electric cars on the road by 2025. Not there yet. We're at about 10% of that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's growing year in year.
It is, but
It's
it's
gonna be
dependent on infrastructure, and the state is working hard
Well, because I know
on
that in the city of Annapolis and all of their garages, they've got the charging stations. I know there's several businesses that have put it there.
It's only Knighton. It's only Knighton. Yeah, as far as city garages.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that the Pip Moyer Rec Center has BG&E put one in there recently.
And we were involved in that. We pushed for that big time. Luckily, our environmental director in Annapolis, Jackie Gild, is all for it. She and I identified something like 15 sites, city-owned sites where charging stations can go. And by the way, the new library, I was told by the library director that that's going to have charging infrastructure too.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm excited for that library.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, we want to make sure you're following the Annapolis Green on Facebook. You want to get onto their newsletter because you will find out about the wonderful Green Drinks Annapolis, which is generally monthly, but it...
Yeah, so a few things up and coming. Yeah, our next one is going to be right after the Environmental Legislative Summit, which is the 29th. And we're going to be going down to continue the conversation after the summit down to the Market House. So that's going to be on the 29th. And our green drinks are always 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
Cash bar and some appetizers. And
it is free to go, by the way.
It is. It is. We do have a requested donation at the door to Annapolis Green.
So we can keep this going.
Yeah. Keep going. Because there are obviously some overhead costs that we incur in putting everything together. February, we're going to probably be over at the new graduate.
Can I tell them the theme in February?
She can't help herself.
I can't help myself. So we're very concerned about pollinators and also about the decline of songbirds. So our theme is going to be the birds and the bees.
Showing some Annapolis love.
Yeah, in February, right?
Yeah, along with the cleanup, and then in March we'll be back and returning to Homestead Gardens. So yeah, some great stuff, and we'd be remiss not to mention London Town Symphony.
Oh yeah. The London Town Symphony, our community symphony.
Okay, which is a really hidden gem in Anne Arundel County that very few people know about. We do have the symphony here at Maryland Hall.
Yep,
but
fabulous.
London Town is phenomenal. Anna Beneweg has been conducting it for years, and you're great.
So January 25th, that performance is dedicated to Annapolis Green, and it's going to feature not only the Pastoral Symphony,
Beethoven,
some arias by the 2019 Miss America, who is a professional soprano, but also the Thomas Point Suite, written by Randy Nielsen, a local composer, and it is a beautiful piece of music. So that's what's going to open the show.
Where is this one?
At Key Auditorium at St. John's.
At Key Auditorium?
Yeah, and the price is right. It's $20, and even less for
Students
seniors.
are free.
Yeah, and students are free.
So come and share the passion of London Town Symphony. It's a volunteer organization.
You can't beat
amazing.
that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Again, all of the information available at AnnapolisGreen.com. There's no E on the end of that green, not that anybody would do that, but it's just Green. And if you're out on Maryland Avenue, which I do encourage everybody to go out on Maryland Avenue and check it out because it's such a cool little funky street, stop at the corner of State Circle and Maryland Avenue and check them out. They're at 92 Maryland Avenue.
Right on the corner.
Elvia, Lynne, thank you very much for your time. And congratulations on all of the accomplishments and what comes next.
Love
Thanks,
having
John.
you visit, John. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Ion Annapolis. Please be sure to visit ionannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.